Her millionaire CEO husband blamed her for the death of their twins, but he went pale when he discovered the truth. The words hit her like bullets fired from the man she once loved more than life itself. "You killed them, Vivian. You killed our children." Marcus Harrington stood over her hospital bed, his handsome face twisted into something unrecognizable. Gone was the man who had held her through every contraction, who had whispered promises of forever against her skin. In his place stood a stranger with ice in his veins and hatred in his eyes. "No," she could barely form the word through cracked lips. "Someone pushed me." "Marcus, please." I felt hands on my back. His laugh was cruel, cutting through the sterile hospital air like a blade. "Helena saw everything. She said you lost your balance because you refused to stay in bed like the doctors ordered. You were too stubborn, too selfish to follow simple instructions. And now my children are dead. I would never hurt our babies. You know me. You know I would die for them." Marcus leaned closer, and she could smell the scotch on his breath, the expensive cologne that once made her feel safe now making her stomach turn. "I thought I knew you, but my mother was right all along. You were never good enough for this family, and now you have proven it in the worst way possible." Vivian reached for him, desperate to make him understand, desperate to find any trace of the man she married. "Marcus, I love you. I love our children. Please believe me." He stepped back as if her touch was poison. "My lawyers will contact you tomorrow. I want you out of my house by the end of the week. And Vivian," his voice dropped to something barely human, "if I ever see your face again, I will destroy what little is left of your pathetic life. Have you ever been blamed for something you did not do? Have you ever had the person who promised to love you forever become the one who breaks you completely? Have you ever lost everything, your children, your husband, your reputation, your very identity, all in a single devastating moment? This is the story of a woman who was thrown away like garbage by the man who should have protected her. A woman who was accused of murdering her own babies by the father who helped create them. A woman who lost everything but refused to let it destroy her. But here is what makes this story different from every tragedy you have ever heard. The twins never died. They were stolen by the one person Vivian never suspected, hidden away for 7 long years while she rebuilt herself from the ashes of her destroyed life. And when the truth finally came out, when Marcus Harrington discovered what really happened that night, he did not just apologize. He fell to his knees and begged, "If you believe in justice, if you believe that the truth always finds a way to surface, hit that like button right now. Stay with me until the end to discover what happens when a broken man finally learns that he destroyed the only woman who ever truly loved him. And comment below, would you forgive someone who accused you of killing your own children?" I read every single response. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Because to understand the depth of this betrayal, you need to understand the height of their love. Vivian Laurent had never known what it meant to belong. Growing up in the foster care system in Chicago, she learned early that love was conditional and temporary. Families took her in when they needed the extra income or wanted to feel charitable, then sent her back when she became inconvenient. By the time she was 16, she had lived in 11 different homes with 11 different sets of rules and 11 different reasons why she was not quite good enough to keep. But Vivian had something that no amount of rejection could take away from her. She had vision. While other kids dreamed of becoming doctors or lawyers or celebrities, Vivian dreamed of creating beauty. She would spend hours sketching dresses on the margins of her schoolwork, imagining fabrics and colors and the way a perfectly cut garment could make someone feel powerful. She would rescue discarded clothing from donation bins and transform them into something new, something that made even the most broken person feel whole. Fashion was not just her passion. It was her survival. When she aged out of the foster system at 18, she had nothing but a high school diploma and a portfolio of sketches that she had protected more carefully than anything else in her life. She applied to design schools knowing she could never afford them, knowing the odds were stacked impossibly against her. And somehow, impossibly, she got a full scholarship to the Fashion Institute in New York. For the first time in her life, Vivian allowed herself to hope. She worked 3 jobs while maintaining a perfect GPA, sleeping 4 hours a night, and surviving on coffee and determination. Her professors called her talented. Her classmates called her obsessed. Vivian called it necessary, because she knew something that privileged people never understood. When you come from nothing, you cannot afford to give anything less than everything. By 23, she had graduated top of her class and landed a position as an assistant designer at one of New York's most prestigious fashion houses. It was entry-level work, fetching coffee and organizing fabric samples and watching more experienced designers take credit for her ideas. But she was inside the world she had dreamed about for so long, and she was determined to climb every rung of the ladder no matter how long it took. She had no idea that everything was about to change at a charity gala she had no business attending. The event was for New York's elite, the kind of people who spent more on a single handbag than Vivian earned in a year. She was only there because her supervisor had gotten food poisoning and someone needed to represent the design house. Vivian had borrowed a dress from the sample room, altered it to fit her slender frame, and walked into the ballroom feeling like an imposter waiting to be discovered. That was when she saw him. Marcus Harrington was impossible to miss. At 31, he was already the CEO of Harrington Enterprises, a technology conglomerate worth billions. He was tall and commanding with dark hair that curled slightly at his temples and gray eyes that seemed to see through everyone in the room. Women circled him like planets around a sun, each one hoping to catch his attention, each one failing to hold it for more than a moment. Vivian had no intention of joining them. She was there to network, to make connections that might help her career, not to chase billionaires who probably saw women as interchangeable accessories. She positioned herself near the bar, nursing a glass of champagne she could not actually afford to drink, and focused on scanning the room for potential contacts. She did not notice Marcus approaching until his voice cut through her concentration. "You look like you are planning a heist." Vivian turned to find those gray eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Excuse me. Everyone else here is trying to be seen." He gestured at the preening crowds around them. "But you are watching them like you are cataloging their weaknesses. It is either very strategic or very suspicious." She should have been intimidated. She should have stammered some excuse and melted into the background where she belonged. But something about his directness unlocked something equally direct in her. "Maybe I am just trying to figure out who is worth talking to." "And what have you concluded? That most of the people here care more about being important than being interesting?" Marcus laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his severe features into something almost approachable. "That might be the most honest thing anyone has said to me all year. I am Marcus. I know who you are." She paused. "I am Vivian." "And what do you do, Vivian, when you are not analyzing charity galas?" "I design clothes. Or I will, eventually. Right now, I mostly organize other people's sketches and pretend I am learning." He studied her with new interest. "You made that dress, did you not? What makes you think that?" "Because it does not fit like something off a rack. It fits like something made for exactly your body. And there is a confidence in the construction that does not match the uncertainty in your eyes." Vivian felt her cheeks flush. Most people did not look that closely. Most people saw a pretty girl in a nice dress and moved on. But Marcus Harrington saw the stitches and the choices and the hours of work that went into making something beautiful. It was terrifying. It was intoxicating. "You are very observant," she managed. "I built a company by noticing what other people miss." He took a step closer. "Have dinner with me." That was not a question. It was not meant to be. His smile was devastating. "I have a feeling you are someone worth knowing, Vivian, and I would hate to miss the opportunity." She should have said no. She should have remembered that men like Marcus Harrington did not date women like her, at least not seriously. She should have protected herself from the inevitable heartbreak of reaching for something so far above her station. But Vivian had spent her whole life being careful, and something about the way Marcus looked at her made her want to be reckless. "All right," she said, "but I choose the restaurant." His grin widened. "I would expect nothing less." Their first date was at a tiny Italian place in Brooklyn that Vivian loved because the owner reminded her of the one foster mother who had actually been kind to her. Marcus arrived in a car that cost more than the building, wearing a suit that probably came from the same designers Vivian worked for. He looked completely out of place among the checkered tablecloths and dripping candles, and he loved every second of it. "This is incredible," he said, twirling spaghetti with genuine enthusiasm. "I cannot remember the last time I ate somewhere without a reservation list and a dress code. Is that a complaint?" "It is a revelation." He looked at her across the flickering candlelight. "You are a revelation, Vivian. You do not know anything about me. I know you work 3 jobs to afford an apartment in a neighborhood most people would be afraid to walk through. I know you send money back to a foster brother in Chicago, even though you can barely pay your own bills. I know you stay late at work every night learning everything you can from designers who do not appreciate you." Vivian set down her fork. "You had me investigated. I always research potential investments." His eyes never left hers. And you, Vivian Laurent, are someone I want to invest in. That should have felt invasive. It should have triggered every defense mechanism she had built over a lifetime of learning not to trust. But Marcus said it with such matter-of-fact certainty that it almost sounded like a compliment. Most people would find that creepy, she said. Most people are not you. And what kind of person am I? Marcus leaned forward. You are the kind of person who does not need my money or my connections or my name. You are building something yourself, brick by brick, and nothing is going to stop you. I find that incredibly attractive. So this is about attraction. This is about recognition. He reached across the table to take her hand. I have never met anyone like you, and I have met a lot of people. Vivian looked at their intertwined fingers, his skin tan against her deeper brown, his manicured nails so different from her work-worn hands. Everything about them screamed incompatibility. Different worlds, different backgrounds, different futures. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something she had never seen anyone look at her with before. She saw belief. Your family is not going to approve, she said quietly. A foster kid from Chicago is not exactly the pedigree they are looking for. My family does not get to choose who I love. Love. The word hung between them like a promise. It is a little early for that, is it not? Marcus smiled. Some things you just know. And against every instinct telling her to run, Vivian decided to stay. Their courtship was a whirlwind of contradictions. Fancy restaurants followed by late-night pizza in her tiny apartment. Gallery openings followed by long walks through Central Park. He introduced her to a world of luxury she had only dreamed about, while she reminded him of a simplicity he had forgotten existed. But it was not all fairy tales and stolen kisses. The first time Vivian met Cordelia Harrington, Marcus's mother, she understood exactly what she was up against. Cordelia was everything Vivian was not. Old money pedigree, perfect posture, a smile that never reached her cold blue eyes. She received Vivian in the formal sitting room of the Harrington estate like a queen granting audience to a peasant. So, Cordelia's gaze swept over her with barely concealed disgust. You are the girl my son has become so infatuated with. It is nice to meet you, Mrs. Harrington. Vivian kept her voice steady, even as her hands trembled slightly in her lap. Is it? Cordelia took a delicate sip of tea. I imagine this must all be quite overwhelming for someone of your background. My background, the foster homes, the poverty, the complete lack of family or breeding. Cordelia set down her cup. I have done my research as well, Miss Laurent. I know exactly who you are. Then you know I have worked hard for everything I have. Yes, that is precisely what concerns me. Cordelia leaned forward slightly. Women who have worked hard for everything often feel entitled to take shortcuts when an easier path presents itself. My son is a very wealthy man, a very trusting man. I will not see him exploited by someone looking for a way out of their circumstances. Vivian felt heat rising in her cheeks. I am not with Marcus for his money. Perhaps not consciously. But tell me, when exactly did you fall in love with my son? Before or after you learned about his net worth? Does it matter? It matters a great deal. Cordelia smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Vivian had ever seen. Because I know how these stories end. The poor girl who convinces herself she loves the prince, only to find that what she really loved was the castle. The marriage that crumbles when she realizes that money cannot fix whatever broke inside her long ago. You do not know me. I know your type. Cordelia stood, signaling the end of their meeting. Enjoy this while it lasts, Miss Laurent. Eventually Marcus will come to his senses, and when he does, I will be here to help him clean up the mess you leave behind. That evening, Vivian almost ended things. She sat in Marcus's car outside her apartment building, tears streaming down her face, trying to find the words to set him free from a future his family would never accept. But Marcus saw her tears and did not flinch. What did she say to you? It does not matter. She wiped her eyes angrily. Your mother is right. This is never going to work. I do not belong in your world. My world. He took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. My world is wherever you are. My mother has been trying to control my life since I was born. She does not get to choose my wife. Wife, Vivian's heart stuttered. We have only been together for 3 months. I knew I wanted to marry you after 3 hours. He kissed her forehead gently. I am not asking yet. I know you need time. But I want you to understand something, Vivian. There is nothing my mother can say or do that will change how I feel about you. Nothing. She is going to make my life miserable. Probably. His smile was rueful. But I will be right there beside you. And together, we can handle anything. Vivian wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that love was enough to bridge the gap between their worlds. So she chose to stay. Again, 6 months later, Marcus proposed on the rooftop garden of his penthouse, surrounded by candles and the glittering Manhattan skyline. He got down on one knee with a ring that probably cost more than her entire life savings and asked her to be his wife with tears in his eyes. Vivian said yes. The wedding was a fairy tale spectacle that made headlines across the country. The Billionaire and the Orphan, they called it. A modern Cinderella story. Vivian wore a dress she had designed herself, a flowing creation of silk and lace that made her feel like the person she had always dreamed of becoming. Marcus looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Cordelia sat in the front row with a smile that never reached her eyes. And as Vivian walked down the aisle toward the man she loved, she allowed herself to believe that the worst was behind them. That Cordelia's disapproval was just a hurdle they had cleared. That nothing could touch the perfect life they were building together. She had no idea that her mother-in-law was already planning her destruction. The Harrington estate was a monument to old money and older traditions. 27 rooms spread across 3 floors, staffed by an army of servants who had worked for the family for generations, decorated with priceless artwork that Vivian was terrified to touch. It should have been a dream come true for a girl who had grown up sharing cramped rooms with rotating foster siblings. Instead, it felt like a gilded prison. Cordelia had moved back into the estate shortly after the wedding, claiming she wanted to help the newlyweds adjust to married life. In reality, she wanted to monitor Vivian's every move, criticizing everything from how she spoke to the staff to how she decorated the bedroom she shared with Marcus. "You really should not rearrange the furniture, dear," Cordelia would say with that poisonous smile. "This room has been exactly this way for 3 generations." Or when Vivian tried to cook dinner for Marcus herself, "We have staff for that, you know. There is no need to pretend you are still in that little apartment of yours." Every comment was a reminder that Vivian did not belong. Every raised eyebrow was a judgment of her worthiness. And slowly, imperceptibly, the estate that should have been her home began to feel like enemy territory. Marcus tried to shield her from his mother's attacks. He defended Vivian at dinners, redirected Cordelia's criticism, reminded her constantly that she was exactly where she belonged. But he was also building an empire, working 16-hour days to expand Harrington Enterprises into new markets and territories. He could not be there every moment. And in the moments he was gone, Cordelia struck. "I was having tea with the Ashworth family yesterday," Cordelia mentioned casually one evening when Marcus was away on business. Patricia was saying how relieved she was that she did not have to train her husband's family on proper etiquette. Apparently breeding shows. Vivian gripped her fork until her knuckles turned white. "Is there something specific you would like me to do differently, Cordelia?" "Oh, nothing specific. Just everything." Cordelia's laugh was like broken glass. "But do not worry, dear. We all know why Marcus really married you. I am sure you will figure out the rest eventually." "And what exactly do you think Marcus married me for?" Cordelia's eyes dropped pointedly to Vivian's stomach. "Well, certainly not for your sparkling conversation. Now, shall we discuss the guest list for the spring gala?" The message was clear. Vivian's only value was as a vessel for the next Harrington heir. Nothing else about her mattered. But despite Cordelia's cruelty, despite the isolation of the estate, despite the constant pressure to prove herself, Vivian held on. She held on because of the way Marcus looked at her when he came home. She held on because of the dreams they whispered to each other in the dark. She held on because giving up would prove Cordelia right. And then, 18 months into her marriage, everything changed. Vivian stared at the positive pregnancy test with trembling hands. Then she stared at the second one. Then the third. Pregnant. After months of trying, months of temperature charts and fertility tracking and quiet disappointment, she was finally pregnant. She surprised Marcus with the news by hiding the tests in a gift box and presenting them at dinner. His reaction was everything she had hoped for, and more. Tears streaming down his face. Arms wrapped around her so tightly she could barely breathe. Promises whispered against her hair. "I love you so much." He pulled back to look at her, his gray eyes shining. "I am going to be the best father. I am going to give our child everything. Our child is already lucky." Vivian touched his face gently. "Because they are going to have you." The first ultrasound revealed an even bigger surprise. "Congratulations. The doctor pointed at the monitor with a smile. "You are having twins, a boy and a girl." Marcus laughed out loud, a sound of pure joy that echoed through the examination room. He kissed Vivian's forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Twins. Of course you overachieve at everything." Vivian could not stop staring at the screen. 2 heartbeats, 2 tiny lives growing inside her. A boy and a girl. The perfect family. For the first time since moving into the Harrington estate, she felt truly happy. Even Cordelia seemed to soften at the news of twins. She offered to help plan the nursery, to host a baby shower with all the right society families, to connect Vivian with the best obstetricians in the city. It was almost suspicious how accommodating she became, but Vivian was too happy to question it, too excited about the future to notice the calculation behind Cordelia's newfound warmth. They chose names: Lucas for the boy, after Marcus's grandfather; Sophia for the girl, because Vivian had always loved the name and Marcus had agreed immediately. They decorated the nursery in soft greens and yellows, gender neutral but warm and welcoming. They bought matching cribs and tiny clothes and stuffed animals that made Vivian cry every time she looked at them. This was what she had wanted her whole life. A family, a real family that could never be taken away from her. She should have known that wanting something that badly made it vulnerable. Complications began in the 3rd trimester. Preeclampsia, the doctors called it. Dangerously high blood pressure that threatened both Vivian and the babies. She was put on strict bed rest, confined to the master suite with orders not to exert herself under any circumstances. Marcus was worried. He wanted to cancel his business trips, to be with her every moment, but Vivian insisted he go. The company needed him. Their future security depended on the deals he was closing. She would be fine. She had the staff. She had the doctors. And she had Cordelia, who swooped in with offers of help that Vivian was too tired and too scared to refuse. "I have hired a nurse to look after you," Cordelia announced one afternoon, leading a thin, sharp-featured woman into Vivian's bedroom. "Helena has excellent references. She will make sure you follow all the doctor's orders." Helena smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Do not worry, Mrs. Harrington. I will take very good care of you." Something about the nurse made Vivian uneasy. There was a coldness to her efficiency, a distance in her interactions that went beyond professional detachment. But Vivian was exhausted from carrying twins, terrified of losing them, and desperate for any help she could get, so she did not question Helena's presence. She did not notice the private conversations between the nurse and her mother-in-law. She did not see the way Helena's eyes constantly monitored her movements, cataloging her habits and routines. She was too focused on keeping her babies alive to realize that someone was planning to take them from her. Marcus called every night from London, where he was finalizing a major acquisition. "How are you feeling, my love?" "Huge." She laughed weakly. "These babies are running out of room in there. Just a few more weeks. I will be home before you know it. I miss you. I miss you too, more than you know." A pause. Is my mother behaving herself? Vivian glanced at the door, making sure no one was listening. She is actually being helpful. It is a little unnerving. Maybe she is coming around. Maybe. Vivian wanted to believe it. She really wanted to believe that Cordelia had finally accepted her, that the birth of her grandchildren had softened the older woman's heart. She would learn soon enough how wrong she was. The night everything fell apart began like any other night of her bed rest. Marcus was still in London, scheduled to return in 2 days. Helena had given her the evening medication and retired to her room down the hall. The house was quiet except for the usual creaks of an old estate settling into darkness. Vivian could not sleep. The babies were restless, kicking and squirming as if they sensed something she could not. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting the elaborate moldings, trying to will herself into relaxation. That was when she heard it. A small sound from downstairs, like someone moving through the house who did not want to be heard. Probably just one of the staff, she told herself. This house was never truly empty. But something felt wrong. Something prickled at the back of her neck. An instinct honed from years of learning to read dangerous situations in foster homes where survival depended on awareness. She pushed herself up from the bed, moving slowly because the babies had dropped low and every motion sent pressure through her pelvis. Her feet found slippers on the floor. Her hand found the wall for support. She should have called for Helena. She should have stayed in bed and pressed the intercom button that connected to the staff quarters. But the sound had seemed to come from the direction of the nursery, and some primal maternal instinct propelled her toward it. The hallway was dark except for the dim glow of nightlights placed at intervals for safety. Vivian made her way toward the staircase, one hand on the railing, the other pressed against her swollen belly. She never heard Helena come up behind her. All she felt were hands on her back, firm hands that pushed with surprising force. And then she was falling. The world became a tumbling chaos of shadows and pain. She tried to protect her stomach, tried to curl around her babies, but gravity was merciless. She hit the landing, then kept falling, her body crashing against the ornate staircase until she finally came to rest at the bottom. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was Helena's voice, calm and clinical, already calling for an ambulance. I found her at the bottom of the stairs. It looks like she fell. No, Vivian tried to scream. I did not fall. You pushed me, but no sound came out. And as consciousness slipped away, she felt something terrible happening inside her body. Something that told her everything had just changed forever. She woke up in a hospital bed surrounded by machines and the sharp smell of antiseptic. For one brief moment, she did not remember what had happened. She was just a woman waking up in an unfamiliar place, confused and disoriented. Then memory crashed back. The stairs, the fall, the hands on her back. Her hands flew to her stomach. It was flat. No. The word tore from her throat as raw terror flooded her system. No, no, no. She clawed at the hospital gown, searching for any sign of the life that had been growing inside her. But there was nothing. Just emptiness where 2 heartbeats should have been. My babies. Her voice rose to a scream. Where are my babies? A nurse rushed in, followed by a doctor, both trying to calm her down. They said words like sedation and trauma and need to rest, but Vivian could not hear anything over the roaring in her ears. And then Marcus was there. He stood in the doorway looking like a man who had aged 10 years in a single night. His suit was rumpled from the emergency flight home. His face was gray and haggard. His eyes held something Vivian had never seen before. Hatred. Where are my babies? She reached for him, desperate for comfort, for reassurance, for the man who had promised to stand beside her through anything. He did not move. They are dead. His voice was flat, emotionless. Dead. Both of them. Because of you. What? No. No, that is not possible. Someone pushed me. Marcus. I felt hands on my back. Helena saw the whole thing. His laugh was hollow and terrible. She said you were out of bed when you should have been resting. She said you lost your balance at the top of the stairs. She said you fell. That is not what happened. Vivian was crying now, great heaving sobs that hurt her battered body. She pushed me. Helena pushed me down the stairs. Stop. The word cracked through the room like a whip. Stop lying. I am not lying. Please, Marcus. You have to believe me. He finally moved then, stepping closer to the bed until he was looming over her. But instead of comfort, his proximity brought only menace. Believe you. He spoke slowly, deliberately, each word designed to wound. I'm supposed to believe that my mother's nurse, a woman with impeccable credentials, decided to murder my unborn children for no reason. I am supposed to believe that you had nothing to do with your own fall when multiple people warned you to stay in bed. I was going to check on the nursery. I heard a sound. You should not have been out of bed at all. So I deserve to fall. I deserve to lose our babies. Something in Marcus's face flickered. Pain, maybe, or doubt, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by that terrible cold anger. My mother warned me about you from the beginning. She said you would find a way to destroy everything. I should have listened. Your mother. Vivian grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. Your mother hated me from the moment we met. She has been trying to get rid of me since our wedding. Did it ever occur to you that maybe she... Do not. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Do not you dare try to blame this on my mother. She is the only one who has been honest with me this entire time. Marcus, please. My lawyers will contact you tomorrow about the divorce. I want you out of my house by the end of the week. Divorce. The word barely made sense. You are divorcing me. What else would I do? He pulled his arm free of her grip. Stay married to the woman who killed my children. I did not kill them. Vivian's voice broke on the words. I loved them. I wanted them more than anything in this world. Then you should have stayed in bed like the doctors ordered. He turned toward the door. You should have put their lives above your own stubbornness for once. Marcus. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her entire body. "Marcus, do not leave me. Please. I love you. I need you." He paused at the door, his back to her. "I needed you too." His voice was barely audible. "I needed you to be the mother of my children, and you failed." Then he was gone, and Vivian was left alone with the wreckage of everything she had ever wanted. If you have ever been wrongly accused, if you have ever had someone you loved turn against you, comment survivor below. I know there are so many of you watching who understand exactly what Vivian is feeling right now. Do not forget to subscribe so you do not miss what happens next, because what Vivian does with this devastation will inspire you in ways you cannot imagine. The memorial service was held 3 days later at the Harrington family church. Vivian should not have attended. The doctors had told her she needed rest, that her body was still recovering from the trauma of the fall and the emergency surgery that had tried to save her babies. But she could not stay away. These were her children being mourned. She had a right to be there. She had no idea that Cordelia had planned her public execution. The church was filled with society's elite, all dressed in appropriately somber black, all whispering behind gloved hands as Vivian took her place in a pew at the back. She could feel their eyes on her. She could hear fragments of their conversations. That is her, the one who... I heard she was out of bed when she should have been. Some people are just not meant to be mothers. Vivian kept her eyes forward, fixed on the 2 tiny caskets at the front of the church. Lucas and Sophia, her babies. Babies she had felt kick inside her just days ago. Babies she had sung to and dreamed about and loved with every fiber of her being. Gone, because someone pushed her down a flight of stairs. Marcus delivered the eulogy. He stood at the pulpit looking devastated and handsome, every inch the grieving father. The audience hung on his every word as he spoke about hopes and dreams and the future that had been stolen from him. I thought I had found my perfect partner. His voice cracked with emotion. I thought I had found someone who would put family above everything else. I was wrong. Vivian felt the words like physical blows. My children died because their mother was too stubborn to follow medical advice. His eyes found hers across the congregation. They died because she cared more about her own desires than their safety. They died because I trusted the wrong person. The gasps from the audience were audible. The whispers intensified. Every eye in the church turned to Vivian with judgment and disgust. She wanted to stand up and scream the truth. She wanted to tell everyone that she had been pushed, that Helena and Cordelia had conspired against her, that she would have died herself before ever hurting her babies. But who would believe her? The foster child with no family against the word of the Harrington dynasty. The outsider who had never belonged against the pillars of society. The woman already convicted in the court of public opinion. So she sat in silence as Marcus finished his speech. She sat in silence as mourner after mourner approached him with condolences, carefully avoiding any eye contact with her. She sat in silence as her reputation was destroyed in front of everyone who mattered. And then security approached her pew. "Mrs. Harrington," one of them said quietly. "Mr. Harrington has asked us to escort you out. I have a right to be here. These are my children. Ma'am, please do not make a scene." Vivian looked around the church. Cordelia sat in the front pew, her face appropriately sorrowful, but there was something in her eyes, something that looked like triumph. In that moment, Vivian understood everything. This had been planned from the beginning. The nurse, the fall, the accusations, the memorial, all of it designed to destroy her, to remove her from Marcus's life, to ensure that Cordelia would never have to share her son with an unworthy outsider. And it had worked perfectly. Vivian stood on shaking legs. She allowed security to guide her toward the exit, keeping her head high even as tears streamed down her face. She would not give Cordelia the satisfaction of seeing her break. But as she passed through the church doors, she heard one final whisper that shattered whatever composure she had left. "Good riddance. At least now Marcus can find someone who deserves him." The divorce papers arrived by courier 2 days later. Vivian read them in the tiny hotel room she could barely afford, having been locked out of the estate the moment the memorial ended. The grounds for divorce were clearly stated in cold legal language: negligence, resulting in fetal death; failure to comply with medical supervision; irretrievable breakdown of marriage. They made her sound like a criminal, like a monster who had deliberately killed her own children. She signed them anyway, because what else could she do? Marcus's lawyers had made it clear that contesting the divorce would only prolong her suffering. that the full resources of the Harrington family would be used to destroy whatever was left of her reputation, that she would never work in fashion again, would never recover from the scandal, would never escape the shadow of what she had supposedly done. Take the settlement, they advised. Disappear. Start over somewhere else. But Vivian refused the money. She refused to take a single cent from the man who had destroyed her. She refused to give Cordelia the satisfaction of seeing her bought off like a problem to be solved. She walked away with nothing except the clothes on her back and a heart full of scars. The first night, she slept on a bench in Central Park because she could not afford a hotel room once her credit cards were canceled. The second night, a police officer took pity on her and directed her to a women's shelter where she could get a bed and a hot meal. The third night, she lay awake in that shelter surrounded by other broken women and made herself a promise. She would survive this. She would rebuild. She would become someone that Marcus Harrington and his poisonous mother could never touch again. And maybe, someday, she would find a way to prove the truth. She had no idea that the truth was even more devastating than she could have imagined. That somewhere far away, 2 tiny hearts were still beating. That the babies she mourned every single day were alive and growing and waiting for the mother who thought she had lost them forever. But that revelation was still 7 years away. For now, Vivian had only one thing to focus on: survival. The shelter smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Vivian lay on a cot that was too short for her 5'7" frame, listening to the sounds of women crying in their sleep, coughing, praying to gods who seemed to have stopped listening. She pressed her hand against her flat stomach where 2 lives had once grown. The physical pain from the fall had started to fade, but the emptiness inside her was a wound that would never fully heal. Lucas, Sophia, their names were a constant whisper in her mind. A woman in the cot next to her rolled over, her face lined with years of hardship. "First time here?" Vivian nodded, not trusting her voice. "It gets easier." The woman's smile was kind despite missing teeth. "Whatever brought you here, it does not have to be your ending. What if it feels like an ending? Then you make it a beginning instead." The woman closed her eyes. "I have been where you are. Rock bottom. Thought I would never climb back up. But I did. You will too." Vivian wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that someone like her, with no money and no support, and a reputation destroyed beyond repair, could somehow find a way forward. But in that moment, lying in a shelter bed with nothing to her name, it felt impossible. The next morning, Vivian walked into a public library and did something she had not done in years. She asked for help. The librarian was a middle-aged black woman with warm eyes and sensible shoes. She listened as Vivian explained her situation in carefully vague terms. Recently separated, no access to funds, trying to get back on her feet. The librarian did not ask questions. She simply pulled out a folder. "These are resources for women in transition, job training programs, resume workshops, housing assistance." She handed the folder to Vivian. "And this computer station is available for public use. You can apply for positions online." "Thank you," Vivian whispered. "We all need help sometimes, honey." The librarian touched her hand gently. There is no shame in starting over. For the next 3 months, that library became Vivian's office. She arrived when it opened and stayed until closing, applying for jobs, rebuilding her portfolio, researching fashion design opportunities that did not require connections or references. She took a part-time job at a coffee shop, standing on her feet for 8-hour shifts and serving customers who never looked her in the eye. She rented a studio apartment in a building where the heat barely worked and the neighbors fought at all hours. She ate ramen noodles and day-old bread and counted every penny. And slowly, painfully, she started to rebuild. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Vivian had maintained a secret online portfolio during her marriage, sketches and designs she created late at night when Marcus was working and Cordelia was asleep. She had never shown them to anyone. They were just her escape, her way of maintaining her identity in a world that wanted to erase her. But now, desperate for any opportunity, she posted them to a small fashion forum under a pseudonym. Within 24 hours, she had messages from 3 emerging designers asking if she would be interested in freelance work. It was not much: sketching patterns for independent labels, creating technical drawings for small boutiques, work that paid barely above minimum wage. But it was fashion. It was the thing she loved. And it was hers. Over the next 2 years, Vivian built a reputation in the underground fashion scene. She worked with designers who could not afford big names. She created collections for brands that valued talent over pedigree. She slowly, methodically created a new identity separate from the scandal that had destroyed her old one. She changed her name legally. Vivienne Laurent became Vivienne Moreau. New last name, new beginning. She moved to a better apartment, then a better one after that. She hired an assistant. Then, too, she rented studio space in Brooklyn where young designers gathered to collaborate and create. And she never, ever spoke about Marcus Harrington or the twins she had lost. Anyone who asked about her past got the same vague answer. I prefer to focus on the future. By year 5, she had launched her own label, Moreau Designs, elegant, affordable fashion for women who wanted to feel powerful without breaking the bank. The fashion press called her a mystery, an enigma, a designer who appeared from nowhere with fully formed vision and undeniable talent. If they had looked closer, if they had connected the dots between dates and details and design aesthetics, they might have recognized her as Marcus Harrington's disgraced ex-wife. But Vivienne had changed. She carried herself differently. She dressed differently. She had transformed herself so completely that the broken girl from 7 years ago no longer existed. In her place stood a woman who had survived the unsurvivable. By year 6, Moreau Designs was being carried in boutiques across the country. Vivienne's net worth had climbed into the millions. She had been featured in Vogue, Forbes, Elle. She had speaking engagements and brand partnerships and opportunities she would have killed for in her younger days. She had everything except the one thing that mattered. Every year on what would have been the twins' birthday, Vivienne visited a small cemetery outside the city where 2 empty caskets had been buried. She brought flowers. She sat by the headstones that read Lucas Harrington and Sophia Harrington. She talked to the children she believed were resting beneath the earth. I hope you are proud of me. She traced their names with her fingers. I hope wherever you are, you know how much I loved you. How much I still love you. The grief never lessened. It just became part of who she was. A permanent ache that she carried alongside her success and her strength. She dated occasionally. Men who were interested in the powerful designer, but never got close enough to see the scars. She went to charity galas and fashion weeks and industry events. She smiled for cameras and gave interviews about empowerment and resilience. But she never let anyone truly in, because the last person she had loved completely had destroyed her. And she would never give anyone that power again. 7 years after the worst night of her life, Vivienne stood in her corner office overlooking Manhattan and allowed herself to feel something close to contentment. She had survived. She had rebuilt. She had proven that Cordelia Harrington had failed to destroy her. And then her assistant buzzed through on the intercom. "Miss Moreau, your 2 o'clock appointment has arrived. Harrington Enterprises." Vivienne's entire world stopped. "What did you say?" "The appointment." It was scheduled under the name He Consulting, but the representative just identified himself as Marcus Harrington. "Tell him I am not available." He said it was urgent. Something about a personal matter that you would want to hear. Vivienne closed her eyes, her carefully constructed walls threatening to crumble. 7 years. 7 years of building a life where Marcus Harrington could not touch her. And now he was standing in her reception area, like he had any right to be there. "Give me 5 minutes, then send him in." She used those 5 minutes to breathe, to center herself, to remember that she was not the broken girl he had discarded. She was Vivienne Moreau, successful designer, self-made millionaire, survivor of his cruelty. He could not hurt her anymore. She would not let him. When the door opened and Marcus walked in, Vivienne was standing by the window with her back to him, positioned to show strength, positioned to hide the way her hands were shaking. "Hello, Vivienne." That voice, God, that voice was exactly the same, deep and authoritative, and achingly familiar. She turned slowly, keeping her expression neutral. The man standing in her office looked like Marcus, but not quite. The gray in his hair was more pronounced. The lines around his eyes were deeper. He looked like someone who had not slept well in a very long time. "Mr. Harrington." Her voice was ice. "I was not aware our appointment was with Harrington Enterprises. I had my assistant use a different name. I knew you would not agree to see me otherwise." "How perceptive of you." She moved behind her desk, creating a barrier. "What do you want?" "I want to talk about what happened, about us." "There is no us. There has not been for 7 years. Vivienne, please, please." What? She kept her voice level, even though rage was building inside her. Please forgive you for calling me a murderer in front of hundreds of people. Please forget that you threw me out with nothing. Please pretend you did not destroy every part of me that knew how to trust. I was wrong. Wrong. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You were not just wrong, Marcus. You were cruel. You were vicious. You took the worst moment of my life and made it infinitely worse by blaming me for something I did not do. Marcus flinched, like she had struck him. I know. God, I know. And I have spent the last 6 months trying to find you. You disappeared. Changed your name. Built this empire. That was the point. Vivian crossed her arms. I wanted nothing connecting me to you or the life you destroyed. I need to tell you something. His voice cracked slightly. Something that changes everything. Nothing can change what you did to me. Even if I told you the twins are alive. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. Vivian gripped the edge of her desk, her vision blurring. What did you say? Marcus's face had gone ashen. 3 months ago, my mother died. Heart attack. When I was going through her estate, I found documents. Medical records. Photographs. Vivian. His voice broke completely. She took them. She paid off the doctors, the nurses, everyone. She staged the entire thing. No. Vivian shook her head violently. No, that is not possible. I buried my children. I grieved them for 7 years. They were never in those caskets. Marcus pulled out his phone with trembling hands. She had them placed with a family in Switzerland, wealthy people who thought they were adopting through legitimate channels. Vivian, they are alive. Sophia and Lucas are alive. He showed her a photograph. 2 children, maybe 7 years old, standing in front of a Swiss chalet. A girl with Vivian's eyes and a boy with Marcus's determined jawline. Vivian's legs gave out. She collapsed into her chair, staring at the phone like it held the secrets of the universe. How? The word was barely a whisper. How could she do that? How could anyone do that? She hated you that much. Marcus sank into the chair across from her. She could not stand that I chose you over her hand-picked society princess. So she decided that if she could not control who I married, she would control everything else. Helena. Paid off and relocated. I have already had her extradited and arrested. She confessed to everything. The push, the staged fall, the falsified medical reports that declared the twins dead when they were actually delivered alive via emergency C-section. Vivian pressed her hands to her mouth, trying to contain the sobs threatening to tear out of her. My babies. My babies have been alive all this time. I have been in contact with the family in Switzerland. They had no idea the adoption was fraudulent. When I explained the situation, they were horrified. They want to do the right thing. The right thing. Vivian looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. The right thing would have been not stealing my children in the first place. The right thing would have been you believing me when I said someone pushed me. You are right. Marcus's voice was raw. You are absolutely right. I failed you in every possible way. I was so consumed by grief that I became my mother's weapon. She pointed me at you, and I destroyed everything we had built. You did not just destroy our marriage, Marcus. You destroyed me. Do you have any idea what it took to survive after you threw me away? I had nothing. No money, no home, no reputation. I slept in shelters. I worked 3 jobs just to afford a studio apartment. I built this company with my bare hands while carrying scars you gave me. I know. He was crying now, tears running down his face without shame. I have spent the last 3 months learning everything, reading the real medical reports, tracking down everyone my mother paid off, discovering the full scope of her deception. And every piece of truth I found made me more ashamed of who I was. You should be ashamed. I am. God, I am destroyed by what I did to you. The woman I loved, the woman who gave me everything, and I betrayed her in the worst possible way. I let grief blind me to the truth. Where are they now? Vivian forced herself to focus on what mattered. Where are Sophia and Lucas? In a hotel downtown. The Swiss family brought them to New York once everything was verified. The children have been told. He paused. They have been told that their real mother is alive. They want to meet you. Vivian felt her heart shatter and rebuild in the space of a single breath. They want to meet me. They have seen pictures. They know your name. Marcus swallowed hard. They have your sketchbooks. What? When my mother staged the adoption, she kept some of your belongings. Things from the nursery, baby books you had started to fill out, sketchbooks where you had drawn pictures of what you imagined they would look like. The Swiss family gave those to Sophia and Lucas when they were old enough to ask about their birth parents. So they know about me. They know you loved them. They know you did not abandon them. They know. His voice broke again. They know their grandmother was a monster and their father was a fool. Vivian stood on shaking legs. I want to see them. Now, of course. Marcus rose immediately. I will take you to them. Then he hesitated. Vivian, I need you to understand something. I am not asking for forgiveness. I do not deserve forgiveness. I am giving you full custody of the twins. You can take them and never see me again. I will stay out of their lives completely if that is what you want. I will give you anything, everything, whatever you need. What do you want, Marcus? He looked at her with devastation written across every feature. What I want does not matter anymore. I forfeited the right to want anything from you the moment I turned my back on our love. Tell me anyway. I want, he took a shuddering breath. I want a chance to earn back even a fraction of the trust I destroyed, not to erase the past. I know that is impossible, but to prove that I have changed, that I have learned, that the man who destroyed you no longer exists. I want to spend the rest of my life making amends. Vivian studied him, the gray hair, the exhaustion, the genuine anguish in his eyes. This was not the arrogant CEO who had condemned her 7 years ago. This was a broken man finally confronting his mistakes. But was that enough? Take me to my children, she said finally. Everything else can wait. The hotel suite was elegant and expensive, overlooking Central Park from the 23rd floor. Marcus knocked gently, then opened the door with a keycard. Inside, 2 children sat on a sofa looking at a photo album. They looked up when the door opened. Vivian felt the air leave her lungs. Sophia was beautiful, dark curls cascading past her shoulders, gray eyes that were exactly like Marcus's, a serious expression that transformed into cautious hope when she saw Vivian. Lucas was taller than his sister, his hair darker, his features more angular. But when he smiled tentatively, it was Vivian's smile looking back at her. Kids, Marcus's voice was gentle. This is your mother. This is Vivian. For a long moment, no one moved. 7 years of separation, 7 years of lies, 7 years of stolen time hung heavy in the air. Then Sophia stood up. You are really her, the girl who drew all those pictures. Vivian nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. You are really our mom. Yes, the word came out as a sob. Yes, I am really your mom. Sophia ran across the room and threw herself into Vivian's arms. The impact nearly knocked Vivian over, but she held on tight, burying her face in her daughter's hair and breathing in the scent of shampoo and childhood and the life she thought she had lost forever. Lucas followed more slowly, more cautiously, but when he reached them, he wrapped his arms around both of them and held on like he was afraid they might disappear. I thought you were dead. Vivian was crying so hard she could barely breathe. I thought I lost you. We thought you did not want us, Sophia whispered into her shoulder. We thought you gave us away. Never. Vivian pulled back to look at both of them, her hands cupping their faces. Never, never, never. I wanted you more than anything in the world. I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. I have grieved you every single day for 7 years. But you are here now, Lucas said quietly. You are really here. I am here, and I am never letting you go again. Marcus stood by the door watching the reunion with tears streaming down his face. This was what he had stolen from them. 7 years of hugs and bedtime stories and ordinary moments that could never be reclaimed. He had done this. His grief, his anger, his willingness to believe his mother over his wife had robbed these children of their mother and robbed Vivian of watching them grow. The weight of that guilt was crushing. Over the next hours, Vivian learned about the children she had missed raising. Sophia loved art, just like her mother, and filled sketchbooks with drawings of everything she saw. Lucas loved books and science and asked questions about how everything worked. They spoke English with slight Swiss accents. They called their adoptive parents Mama Elise and Papa Friedrich. They had friends and hobbies and 7 years of experiences that Vivian had not been part of. But when Sophia curled up against her side and Lucas held her hand while telling stories about school, Vivian felt something she had not felt in 7 years. She felt whole. The Swiss couple arrived that evening to discuss the transition. Elise and Friedrich Müller were kind people in their 50s who had desperately wanted children and believed they were giving a loving home to orphans in need. We had no idea. Elise's eyes were red from crying. The agency showed us death certificates for you. They said the father was relinquishing his parental rights. We thought we were saving these children from being put into the system. You gave them a good life, Vivian said, meaning it. They are healthy and happy and clearly loved. I will always be grateful for that. But they belong with you. Friedrich squeezed his wife's hand. We discussed it on the plane. We will stay in New York for a few weeks to help with the transition. Make sure Sophia and Lucas feel secure. Then we will return to Switzerland. But, he paused, we would like to stay in their lives if possible, as family friends, people who love them. Vivian looked at the children she had just gotten back, knowing how much they must love the people who had raised them. Of course, you are part of their story. You always will be. The custody transfer was finalized within 2 weeks. Marcus had deployed an army of lawyers to expedite the process, using every connection and every dollar to ensure that nothing would delay Vivian being reunited with her children. It was the least he could do, and it was nowhere near enough. Vivian moved the twins into her penthouse, converting her home office and guest room into bedrooms decorated with input from Sophia and Lucas. She enrolled them in schools. She rearranged her work schedule to be available for pickups and homework and all the ordinary parenting tasks she had missed. And Marcus asked for nothing. He called once a week to check on the children's adjustment. He sent child support payments that Vivian did not need, but accepted because she knew he needed to contribute somehow. He stayed out of their way, giving Vivian space to bond with the kids without his presence complicating everything. But Sophia and Lucas asked about him. Why does not our dad come visit? Sophia asked one evening while Vivian was tucking her in. Your father and I have a complicated history, Vivian said carefully. He hurt me very badly, and I need time to figure out if I can trust him again. But he cries when he talks about us. Lucas appeared in the doorway of his sister's room. I heard him on the phone once. He was telling someone that he ruined everything and he does not know how to fix it. Vivian's heart twisted. Sometimes when people make really big mistakes, it takes a long time to repair the damage. Do you still love him? Sophia asked with childhood directness. The question hung in the air. Did she still love Marcus? After everything he had done, after 7 years of rebuilding herself without him, after the accusations and the cruelty and the pain, the honest answer terrified her. I loved who he used to be, and I do not know if that person still exists. Maybe you could find out, Lucas suggested. Like an experiment. Scientists do not just guess. They test things. Vivian smiled despite herself. You want me to scientifically test whether your father has changed? Why not? Sophia sat up in bed. He says he is different. You do not believe him. The only way to know is to observe his behavior over time. When did you two become so wise? We had good teachers. Lucas hugged her goodnight. Mama Elise always said that people can change if they really want to. Maybe Dad really wants to. After the children were asleep, Vivian stood at her window overlooking the Manhattan skyline and thought about second chances. She had changed. She had gone from broken girl in a shelter to successful businesswoman with her children back. If she could transform so completely, was it possible that Marcus had too? And did she even want to find out? She called him before she could talk herself out of it. Marcus answered on the first ring. Vivian, is everything okay? Are the kids? The kids are fine. She took a deep breath. They have been asking about you, have they? They want to see you. She paused. I think maybe supervised visits could be arranged, if you are interested. If I am interested. His voice cracked. Vivian, I would give anything to be part of their lives, but only if you are comfortable with it. I will not push. Once a week, Saturday afternoons. You can take them for a few hours. Do something fun. Then bring them home. Thank you. The gratitude in his voice was palpable. Thank you for giving me a chance I do not deserve. This is not for you, Marcus. This is for them. They deserve to know their father. The good parts of him, anyway. I will be the best version of myself. I promise. Promises are easy. Vivian looked out at the glittering city. Actions are what matter. Then watch my actions, because I am going to spend every day proving that I have changed. The first Saturday visit was awkward. Marcus arrived at exactly 3 o'clock, nervous as a teenager on a first date. He took Sophia and Lucas to the Museum of Natural History, then for ice cream, then back home exactly on time. He was polite to Vivian, respectful, careful not to overstep. The second week, he took them to a Broadway show. The third week, a Yankees game. The fourth week, a cooking class where they made pasta from scratch. Each week, he returned them happy and tired and full of stories about their adventures. Each week, he asked Vivian how she was doing. Each week, he left without asking for anything more than the time he had been given. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Vivian began to soften. She noticed things. The way Marcus listened when the children talked, giving them his full attention without checking his phone. The way he learned their favorite foods, their fears, the small details that made them individuals. The way he never spoke badly about Vivian to them, even though he would have been justified in explaining how she had kept them apart. He showed up, consistently, reliably, becoming the father they deserved. If you are watching this and you have ever had to decide whether to give someone a second chance, drop a like on this video, because what happens next is going to show you what real redemption looks like. And make sure you are subscribed, because this story is about to take a turn that will restore your faith in love. 3 months into the visitation schedule, Marcus did something unexpected. He invited Vivian to join them for a Saturday outing. "I know this is outside our arrangement," he said on the phone, "but Sophia's art show is this weekend, and Lucas has a science fair presentation. I thought, maybe, we could go together, as a family." The word family hit Vivian like a physical force. "I do not know if that is a good idea. The kids asked me to invite you." He paused. "They said they want us to see their accomplishments together, but if you are not ready, I understand completely." Vivian thought about her daughter's art displayed on school walls, her son's experiment on renewable energy. She thought about the pride she would feel watching them shine. And she thought about how much more meaningful it would be if Marcus was there to share it. "Okay, but this is for them, not for us." Understood. The art show was held in the elementary school gymnasium, transformed with student artwork covering every wall. Sophia's section featured a series of paintings titled "Found Family," images of puzzle pieces coming together, broken pottery being repaired with gold, a garden growing through concrete. In the center was a portrait, a woman who looked like Vivian, standing strong and alone, but in the background, sketched lightly, were the outlines of 2 children and a man waiting to be fully drawn in. "She is deciding if she is ready to complete the picture," Sophia explained to the art teacher who was admiring her work. "Sometimes you have to be strong by yourself first before you can be strong with other people." Vivian felt tears welling up. "When did you become so wise?" "I learned from you." Sophia hugged her. "You showed me that broken things can be beautiful if you know how to repair them." Marcus stood beside them, staring at the painting with an expression Vivian could not quite read. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. "That is extraordinary, Sophia. You have your mother's talent and your own unique vision. Do you think she will complete the picture?" Sophia asked. "The woman in the painting? I hope so," Marcus said quietly, "because the people in the background are lost without her." At Lucas's science fair, their son presented a project on second chances in nature, how forests regrow after fires, how coral reefs recover from bleaching, how ecosystems rebuild after devastation. "Nature shows us that recovery is possible," Lucas explained to the judges. "Even when damage seems permanent, life finds a way to heal and grow again. But it takes time and the right conditions and patience." "Where did you get this idea?" one of the judges asked. "From my family." Lucas looked at Vivian and Marcus standing together at the back of the gymnasium. "They are teaching me that even broken things can be fixed if everyone is willing to do the work." He won second place, and when he ran to them with his ribbon, he hugged them both at the same time without hesitation or awkwardness. For just a moment, they looked like a real family. That night, after the children were asleep, Marcus lingered at Vivian's door instead of leaving immediately. "Thank you for today, for letting me be part of their achievements. They are your children too." Vivian leaned against the doorframe. "You have a right to be proud of them. I am proud of them. And I am proud of you, what you have built, who you have become. You are extraordinary, Vivian. I had to be. You destroyed the person I was. I had no choice but to rebuild into someone stronger. I know, and I hate that I am the reason you had to go through that. But I am grateful for who you became. Even if I do not get to be part of your life, knowing that you survived and thrived, it matters. Vivian studied his face in the dim hallway light. Why are you really here, Marcus? Why now, after all these years? Because I never stopped loving you. The admission came out raw and honest. I tried. God knows I tried to move on, to convince myself that what we had was not real. But seeing you again, watching you with our children, remembering what we used to have, Vivian, you are still the only woman I have ever truly loved. Love is not enough. You taught me that 7 years ago. You are right. Love is not enough without trust, without respect, without the willingness to believe in each other even when things get hard. He took a careful step closer. But maybe we could try to build those things. Slowly, one day at a time. And if I cannot forgive you, if the wounds are too deep, then I will accept that. But I will keep showing up for our children. I will keep proving that I have changed. And I will keep hoping that someday you might be willing to give me another chance. Vivian wanted to say no. Every rational part of her brain screamed that trusting Marcus again was dangerous, that he had already broken her once and could do it again. But her heart, that foolish organ that had somehow survived 7 years of grief, whispered something different. It whispered that maybe, just maybe, some loves were worth fighting for. I need time, she said finally. I will wait. However long it takes, I will wait. Over the next 6 months, Marcus did exactly what he promised. He waited, but he also showed up. He showed up for every school event, every weekend visit, every moment the children needed him. He showed up for Vivian too, in small ways that slowly rebuilt the foundation of trust he had destroyed. When her car broke down on the way to an important meeting, Marcus sent his personal driver without being asked. When she mentioned wanting to expand her business into sustainable fabrics, he connected her with ethical suppliers in his network. When she had a panic attack triggered by running into someone from their old social circle, he talked her through it over the phone until her breathing returned to normal. He never asked for anything in return, never pressured her for more than she was willing to give. He simply proved, through consistent action, that he had become someone different, someone worthy of a second chance. The turning point came on what would have been their 10th wedding anniversary. Vivian woke up to find a single envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a handwritten letter. Vivian, 10 years ago today, I married the love of my life. I stood at an altar and promised to love you, honor you, protect you through everything. I broke those promises in the worst possible way. I let grief turn me into someone I do not recognize. I hurt you when I should have held you. I blamed you when I should have believed you. I threw you away when I should have fought for you. I cannot undo those mistakes. I cannot give you back the 7 years we lost. But I can tell you this. The man who destroyed you no longer exists. I have spent every day since learning the truth trying to become someone who deserves even a fraction of your forgiveness. I do not expect you to forget. I do not expect you to trust me immediately. But if you are willing, I would like to spend the rest of my life earning back what I threw away. Not because I want to recapture the past, but because I want to build something better, something stronger, something based on honesty and growth and the knowledge that true love means believing in each other even when the world says otherwise. I love you. I have always loved you, and I will wait as long as it takes for you to decide if you can love me again. Yours, if you will have me. Marcus. Vivian read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. She thought about the girl she used to be, the one who believed love conquered all, the one who had been so thoroughly broken that she thought she would never believe in anything again. Then she thought about the woman she had become, stronger, wiser, more careful with her heart. And she thought about the possibility of choosing love again, not the naive love of her youth, but the complicated, scarred, hard-won love of 2 people who had survived the worst and were still willing to try. She called Marcus. Meet me at the rooftop garden, the one where you proposed the first time. I will be there. The rooftop garden looked exactly as she remembered. String lights hanging between potted trees. A view of Manhattan that made the city look like a constellation of possibilities. The same bench where Marcus had gotten down on one knee a lifetime ago. He was already there when she arrived, nervous energy radiating from every line of his body. Thank you for coming. Vivian sat on the bench, and he sat beside her, careful to leave space between them. I read your letter. And And I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness, about what it means and what it does not mean." She looked out at the city lights. "Forgiving you does not erase what happened. It does not make the pain go away. It does not mean I forget the words you said or the things you did. I know, but it means I am choosing not to let what you did define the rest of my life." She turned to face him. "I have spent 7 years being the woman you destroyed, building myself back up, proving I could survive without you. And I did survive. I thrived. But I am tired of letting your mistakes control my story." She took a shaky breath. "I want to write a new story, one where I am not running from the past, but building toward a future. What kind of future? I do not know yet. But maybe one where I'm willing to see if the man sitting next to me is actually as different as he claims to be." Marcus felt hope bloom in his chest for the first time in years. "What do you need from me?" "Time, patience, absolute honesty, no more secrets, no more letting other people influence what you believe about me. If we do this, we do it as equals who choose each other every single day. I can do that. And therapy." Vivian's voice was firm. "Both of us individually and together. We need help processing what happened. We need tools to communicate better. We need to do this right," Marcus finished. "Not like before. Like people who have learned from their mistakes." "Exactly." He reached for her hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. "Vivian Moreau, will you give me a chance to earn back your trust? Not as the man I was, but as the man I am becoming." She looked at their intertwined fingers. His hand was older now, marked with the passage of time, but his grip was gentle, respectful, the grip of someone who understood how precious second chances were. "Yes," the word came out as a whisper. "Yes, I will give you a chance. One chance, Marcus. Do not waste it." "I will not. I swear on everything I am. I will not waste this." They sat together on that bench as the city glittered around them, two broken people choosing to believe in the possibility of healing. It was not a fairy tale ending. It was something better. It was a beginning built on truth instead of illusion, on growth instead of perfection, on the hard-won knowledge that love was not about never failing, but about choosing to try again after failure. The next year was a careful dance of rebuilding. Marcus and Vivian dated like people learning each other for the first time. They went to therapy sessions where they unpacked 7 years of pain and misunderstanding. They had difficult conversations about trust and forgiveness and the wounds that might never fully heal. They made rules about communication and boundaries and what they needed to feel safe with each other. And slowly, carefully, they began to build something new. Not a recreation of their first marriage, but something stronger. Something forged in fire and loss and the determination to do better. The children watched their parents fall in love again with the wisdom of kids who understood that nothing was simple. They saw the work their parents put into healing. They saw the therapy sessions and difficult conversations and moments when the past threatened to overwhelm the present. And they saw their parents choose each other anyway. 1 year and 8 months after Marcus walked into Vivian's office, he proposed again. Same rooftop garden, same view of Manhattan, but everything else was different. Vivian Moreau. He knelt on one knee, his eyes full of tears and hope. "I asked you to marry me once before, and I failed to honor the promises I made to you. I do not expect you to forget that, but I am asking you to believe that I have learned from those failures. This time, I know what I am promising. I am promising to believe in you always, even when the world says otherwise. I am promising to communicate instead of assuming. I am promising to build a partnership based on equality and respect and the hard work of choosing each other every single day. I am promising to be the husband you deserve, the father our children need, and the man I should have been all along. Will you marry me? Again, for real this time." Vivian looked at the ring he held. It was not the ostentatious diamond from their first engagement. It was simpler, more personal. A band of gold with 3 small stones representing Sophia, Lucas, and the love they had rebuilt together. She thought about the girl who had said yes the first time, young and hopeful and believing that love was enough. Then she thought about the woman she was now, scarred and strong and wise enough to know that love was work she was willing to do. "Yes," she smiled through her tears. "Yes, I will marry you. Again. For real this time." Their second wedding was nothing like the first. No massive society spectacle. No guest list full of people who did not care about them. No expensive venue chosen to impress the right families. Instead, they married in the backyard of Vivian's penthouse, surrounded by a small group of people who had supported them through the darkness. Sophia and Lucas stood with them as joint maids of honor and best men, beaming with pride as their parents pledged their lives to each other. Elise and Friedrich attended via video call from Switzerland, wiping away tears as they watched the family they had helped raise find their way back together. Vivian's team from Moreau Designs sat in the front row alongside Marcus's assistant, who had helped him track down the truth about Cordelia's crimes. When Marcus spoke his vows, his voice was clear and sure. I promise to love you when it is easy and when it is hard. I promise to believe in you when doubt creeps in. I promise to be your partner in building a life that honors both of us. I promise to be the man our children can be proud of. I promise to never, ever take your love for granted again. Vivian's vows were equally powerful. I promise to trust you while also trusting myself. I promise to communicate my needs instead of expecting you to guess. I promise to remember that forgiveness is not weakness, but strength. I promise to build a future that acknowledges our past without being defined by it. I promise to love you, not perfectly, but honestly. When they kissed, Sophia and Lucas cheered so loudly that the neighbors could hear, and for the first time in years, Vivian felt complete. Not because Marcus had saved her. She had saved herself, but because she had chosen to share her life with someone who finally understood how precious that choice was. 2 years after their remarriage, Vivian sat in her doctor's office staring at an ultrasound screen in shock. At 35, she had made peace with Sophia and Lucas, being her only children. They were enough, more than enough, a blessing beyond measure. But apparently, the universe had other plans. Congratulations. The doctor pointed at 3 distinct shapes on the monitor. You are pregnant with triplets. 3 healthy heartbeats. Vivian felt tears streaming down her face. After everything they had been through, after all the loss and pain and hard-won healing, life was giving them this gift. 3 more chances at love. She could barely get the words out to call Marcus. He answered immediately. Is everything okay? I am pregnant. Silence. Marcus, did you hear me? I heard you. His voice was choked with emotion. Pregnant. How? Triplets. How is that? There was a crash in the background. Did you just drop your phone? I might have thrown it. Vivian, are you serious? 3 babies. Our family is going to have 3 more babies. I guess we are going to need a bigger house. When she got home that evening, Marcus was already there with Sophia and Lucas. The children had clearly been told because they rushed to her with excitement radiating from every pore. 3 babies. Sophia was bouncing with joy. I am going to teach them to paint. I am going to teach them science. Lucas was already planning. We can do experiments together. Marcus pulled Vivian into his arms, kissing her forehead gently. Are you happy? I'm terrified. She laughed through tears. 3 babies at 35. Do you know how exhausting that is going to be? We will handle it together, all of us, as a family. 9 months later, in a hospital room filled with love instead of accusation, Vivian gave birth to 3 healthy babies. 2 boys and a girl they named Oliver, Elijah, and Grace. Marcus cried through the entire delivery. When the nurses placed the triplets in his arms, he looked at Vivian with such profound gratitude that words became unnecessary. You have given me everything, he whispered. A family, a second chance, a life worth living. You gave yourself that. Vivian touched his face gently. You chose to change. You chose to do the work. I just chose to believe in that change. Sophia and Lucas met their siblings with the gentle reverence of children who understood how precious life was. They took turns holding the babies, making promises to protect them and teach them and love them forever. And Vivian, surrounded by the family she had nearly lost and the love she had fought so hard to rebuild, felt something she had not felt in years. She felt peace, not the absence of pain. The scars from her past would always be part of her, but the peace that comes from knowing that survival is possible, that healing is possible, that love, real love, the kind built on truth and work in choosing each other daily, is possible. 5 years later, the Harrington-Moreau household was beautiful chaos. Sophia, at 13, was already selling her artwork online. Lucas, at 13, was building apps to help people track their environmental impact. Oliver, Elijah, and Grace at 5 were a tornado of energy and questions and boundless enthusiasm for life. Marcus had stepped back from Harrington Enterprises to focus on family, taking a consultant role that allowed him to be present for breakfast and homework and bedtime stories. Vivian had expanded Moreau Designs into a global brand focused on sustainable fashion and empowering women from difficult backgrounds to enter the industry. And together, they had built something that looked nothing like their first marriage and everything like a real partnership. They still went to therapy, still had hard conversations, still worked through moments when the past threatened to overwhelm the present, but they did it together. One evening, Marcus found Vivian in her home studio, sketching designs while Grace slept in a playpen nearby. "You look happy." She looked up and smiled. "I am happy, even with all the chaos, all the noise, all the stress of running a company and raising 5 kids, especially because of all that, because it means I am living instead of just surviving." He sat beside her, taking her hand. "Do you ever regret giving me a second chance?" She considered the question seriously. "Sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if I had walked away, if I had kept my walls up and protected myself from ever being hurt again. And I think that version of me would have been safe." She squeezed his hand. "But she would not have been whole. You make me whole, not because I need you to complete me, but because loving you, choosing to trust you again, made me braver than I ever thought possible." Marcus kissed her forehead. "I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of that bravery. I know, and that is why I am not afraid anymore." When the children were older, Vivian and Marcus sat them all down and told them the full story about Cordelia's cruelty, about the lies and the staged deaths, about the 7 years of separation, about the mistakes and the healing, and the long road to forgiveness. Sophia and Lucas filled in pieces they remembered. The transition from Switzerland, the confusion and fear, the slow realization that they had a mother who loved them and a father who was trying to become better. And the triplets listened with wide eyes, asking questions about how families heal and whether broken things could really be fixed. Yes, Vivian pulled all 5 children close. Broken things can be fixed, not by pretending the breaks do not exist, but by acknowledging them, learning from them, and choosing to build something stronger in their place. "So, our family was broken?" Oliver asked. "And now we are fixed," Elijah added. "Not fixed," Marcus corrected gently. "Healed, and still healing. Every day we choose each other. Every day we choose love. That is what makes us strong." As the children dispersed to homework and games and the ordinary chaos of family life, Vivian and Marcus sat together on their couch. Around them were the sounds of home, laughter and arguments and music and life. "This is everything I ever wanted." Vivian leaned against his shoulder. "Not the fairy tale version, the real version, where love is work and work is worth it." Marcus wrapped his arm around her. "I love our real version. Me too. Now let me tell you the moral of this story. Because if you have watched this far, you deserve to understand what this journey was really about. This story is not about a perfect love that conquered all. It is about imperfect people who chose to fight for each other even when the odds seemed impossible. It is about a woman who refused to let tragedy define her, who rebuilt herself from nothing and became more powerful than anyone who tried to destroy her. It is about a man who made unforgivable mistakes but did the work to become someone worthy of forgiveness. It is about children who deserved better and got the family they needed because 2 broken people chose healing over bitterness. The truth is that life will break you. People will fail you. Love will hurt you in ways you never imagined possible. But here is what I want you to understand. You get to choose what happens next. You can let the breaking destroy you, or you can use it to rebuild yourself into something stronger. You can hold on to anger and protect yourself from ever being vulnerable again. Or you can choose the terrifying, beautiful path of forgiveness. Not because the people who hurt you deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. Vivian could have stayed bitter. She would have been justified. Marcus destroyed her in ways that some people never recover from, but she chose differently. She chose to survive, to thrive, to build an empire from her ashes. And when the opportunity came to forgive, she chose that too. Not immediately, not easily, but deliberately, with boundaries and conditions and the wisdom to know that forgiveness is not about forgetting. It is about refusing to let the past control your future. And Marcus could have wallowed in guilt forever. could have accepted that some mistakes are too big to fix. But he chose the harder path. He chose to actually change. Not just apologize, but transform. Not just say he was different, but prove it through consistent action over years. That is what real redemption looks like. Not a grand gesture, but 1,000 small choices to be better. To show up. To do the work, even when it is hard. To earn back trust that was rightfully taken away. If you are watching this and you are the one who was hurt, I want you to know that you do not owe anyone forgiveness. You do not have to give second chances. You have every right to protect yourself and walk away. But if you choose to stay, if you choose to try again, do it on your terms, with boundaries, with support, with the understanding that forgiveness is a process, not a moment. And if you are watching this and you are the one who caused the harm, understand this. Apologies are not enough. Guilt is not enough. You have to actually change. You have to do the work of becoming someone different, someone worthy of the trust you destroyed. And even then, the person you hurt might not choose you, and that is their right. This story had a happy ending because both people chose the hard work of healing. Because Vivian was brave enough to risk her heart again. Because Marcus was humble enough to earn back what he threw away. Because they both understood that love is not a feeling. It is a choice you make every single day. So I am asking you now, what choice are you going to make? Are you going to let your past define your future? Or are you going to write a new story? One where you are not the victim or the villain, but the hero who chose to heal. If this story touched you, if it made you think about forgiveness or second chances or the power of choosing love even when it is terrifying, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment telling me what this story meant to you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And subscribe to Mr. Brad's channel because every week I bring you stories that are not just entertaining, they are transformative. They are reminders that no matter how broken you feel, you have the power to rebuild. Next week, I have a story about a woman who discovered her husband's secret family and the impossible choice she had to make. You will not want to miss it. Remember, you are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what you choose to do next. Choose wisely. Choose bravely. Choose love. This is Mr. Brad reminding you that your story is not over. The best chapters might still be ahead. Now go out there and write them.